No seeds, full of flavor, full of sugars. That is really good. Hey, this is Cameron. Welcome back to the Busy Gardener channel. Today we are going to walk through the orchard and see what is fruiting on with our citrus. Let's get busy. Oh man, that is one really rewarding thing about having fruiting in Southern California is that when a bunch of stuff is going dormant, other stuff is coming on. Look at that. There are no leaves on this jujube and the nectarines and all of this stuff is going dormant, but all of the citrus is totally fruiting right now. And that's so much fun. I think there's probably a week or 2 weeks in December that we don't have fruit, and perhaps maybe a couple weeks, maybe in late April, before some of the cherries and some of the stuff start coming on in May. And so we're so fortunate to have fruit really year round. We can come up here and pick something sometime. Well, right now, while everything else is asleep, our citrus is on. So let's get looking. We'll take a look at some of the citrus you got going on. Okay, well, when it comes to citrus, I want to still follow the same type of successive ripening that I learned about from Tom Spellman and Dave Wilson Nursery. And so that's why I've got these multi-plantings here. A great example of this is this here. We've got our Satsuma mandarin, which has the fruit is totally ready. It's been ready for a few weeks. We've been coming out and eating on it. And we got this honey mandarin, which I've had a real problem with splitting fruit this year. So this is most of the tree is kind of a wash, although I see some unaffected fruit. And then over here, you can't quite see the fruit on there because it's still green, but is our gold nugget mandarin. And that gold nugget is probably the best tasting citrus in this entire orchard. And so it's so great to be able to come up here and find a ripe piece of fruit. These Satsumas, usually, the one reason why you usually find them in the store with some stem coming off of it is because by ripping it off, you usually rip off the stem or the crown of a ripe fruit. And so, let me see how I can do this. I know I'm having to do this one-handed. Super easy to peel, though. That's one good thing about it. No seeds, full of flavor, full of sugars. That is really good. Man, and you see we've got about, 50, 60 fruit left on there, even though we've been eating some of it. Satsuma is really one of the best. This is ready right now. So good. Okay, in kind of reverse order a little bit of the most ripe, we'll go to the least ripe. These are our Washington navel oranges. These are really ready. If I took one and cut it off and cut it up, the flavor's all there already. So in terms of my navel oranges, this is the first. This is already ready. Here is my Cara Cara orange, navel orange. And this is one that's kind of got that pink on the inside. It is a mostly, it's like a semi-blood orange, but very, very tasty as well. Not as tasty, I don't think, as the Washington navel, but still very good on it in its own right. And when it's ripe, you almost can't beat it. So this is ready now. This will be ready in a little bit. They look similar, but there's still some blushes of green. And with oranges or most citrus, the more orange or even the more red, the better. The redder, the better when it comes to citrus. Here's what's called my Tarocco blood orange. And I think this has more fruit on it than any of my other citrus this year. Well, maybe with the exception of the Tangelo that we'll get to in my cocktail grapefruit hybrid. This stuff, this is a true blood orange. When you cut it open, it's got this gorgeous look. Almost looks like a sunrise or something when it's fully ripe. If it's not fully ripe, it really is not that flavorful. It's not that good. So you really have to wait until these are truly ripe. And with this many fruit on there, you kind of just start learning what ripe looks like. You take one that you think is ripe, you go cut it open. If it's really not, then you just give this tree some more time. So this will probably be ready to start harvesting in a month or two, which is pretty cool because I'm eating that now. That'll be next, and then we'll move on to here. Next to it, I have a Valencia orange. Now you look at this, and these aren't anywhere close. I mean, these are still mostly green, but are starting to color up a little bit. These are normally going to be ready in late spring, early summer, and that's when these are going to be the most ripe and ready to go. So even within this just small area, you see that we've got citrus that is going to give us fruit for several months, all the way through and until some of our stone fruit deciduous stuff starts coming on. Now, just a quick note about tree height. I'm going to let all my citrus grow as tall as it wants to get, because it's going to get maybe 10 or 12 feet tall. And unlike a lot of the deciduous fruit where the fruit will fall off or is ready to come off within a week or two, citrus can hang and has a harvest period over several weeks or even a few months. And so there's a saying with citrus and with avocados that the best place to store the fruit is to just store it on the tree. Let it hang up there until you're ready to go eat it. It's very forgiving with respect to that. And so I'm going to let these trees grow up tall, because that's going to give us a larger store of fruit that we can come and pick throughout the season, unlike some of these other stone fruit. Okay, these are awfully short, but they're so tasty. Up in the front here, I've got my cocktail grapefruit hybrid. And this is, like you've seen in my other videos, it tastes like grapefruit, but it doesn't have the same bitterness in the flesh. If you eat the rind, you start getting some of that bitterness, but the flesh itself is so sweet and so tasty, as well as it's got so much juice. It's very seedy, but it has a lot of juice. So being able to juice it or eat it fresh, both are really good. You wouldn't peel it, you just cut this because the rind is so thin. The one bummer is if you're on statins for cholesterol, you're not able to eat these. And because they do have the components of grapefruit in them that prevent you from being able to eat it. But a little taste probably wouldn't do much. Consult with your doctor first. Okay, and next door to it, I have these Tangelos. These Tangelos, oh man, I remembered what they were a mix between. Was it a mix between a tangerine and a pomelo? I just don't remember. But essentially what they are, these Minneola Tangelos, you recognize them by that little hump that they have at the top, the little neck or whatever that is. And these are kind of like a tart, tangy, it's really a unique kind of citrus. My friend had one. We used to, our group of friends used to throw them at each other when we were younger, but now I just like to eat them. And so this tree and that cocktail grapefruit hybrid are so productive and so tasty when you let them ripen. These Tangelos are especially susceptible. If you don't let them ripen, you're going to get just sour. And so if you like that, pick them early. But if not, and let them color up, get nice and reddish. Okay, let's look at the last bit of citrus in my yard, and that's this, my 3-in-1 lemon lime combo. And so on this side, I've got my Eureka lemon, which is loaded with fruit. This tree probably has 50 fruit on it. Down here is my lime. Now, you're used to seeing limes that are green, but the flavor is actually even more developed when you let them yellow up a little bit. And so you notice that these are kind of yellowing, and it's kind of a strange thing to see this thing that looks like a lemon on the outside, but when you cut into it, the flesh is green. And so that's a lot of fun. And then back here is my Pomona Sweet lemon. And this Pomona Sweet is an interesting thing. It's a sub-acid citrus, and so it's kind of sweet. It's got a very unique flavor. I planted it mainly because I grew up being Persian. They have something like this in Iran. And so I thought that, okay, well, that might be kind of fun to plant at my place. But if I were to do it over again, it's not an entirely usable fruit. You can eat it, but it's kind of doesn't do a whole lot for you when you have such more flavorful options. And so if I were to do this over again, I would have replaced that with a Meyer lemon. So that way I'd have a true lemon, a Eureka lemon, and a Meyer lemon. And then, of course, just having some lime down here is how I would have done this if I were to do this over again. So if you've got the room, which I have, I suppose I could plant a Meyer somewhere else. But anyway, this is the lemon lime combo, doing so awesome. Pick stuff off of here right now. I'll take some lemon in. How about that? Look at that gorgeous lemon right there. Well, I hope in this January day you've enjoyed watching this coming through and seeing some of the citrus that I've got going on, getting an update on what is fruiting, what this stuff looks like as it grows and develops. I've been so happy. Citrus, I have to say, and I'm probably going to do a video all about this, but citrus is truly one of the least difficult to maintain because you don't have to do a ton of pruning. You don't have to do a ton of care. It just kind of grows on its own. You don't have to worry about shaping and some of those things like you do with the deciduous if you're trying to keep the heights managed. And so I'm really grateful that we can grow citrus here, and it gives us fruit during the winter time, which is a huge plus. What are some of your favorite citrus? What have you had good luck growing? What do you think if I was going to add something here? What do you think I ought to plant up here in the orchard in terms of citrus? I was thinking about putting some citrus up on the berm over there where we used to have eucalyptus trees. And so, yeah, I'm really curious. What has your experience been like? Any questions you have about what I've got going on up here? So, hey, sure appreciate you tuning in. If you'd like to subscribe, why don't you do that now? Why don't you hit that notification bell too, so that way you know when the videos come up. And whether you've got 1 tree in your orchard, 500, till next time, stay busy.